Hello everyone, this is Remleiz from 40k Theories, and welcome to this new episode of Adeptus Podcastus. No Tactica Imperialis this week, as unfortunately she's stuck with work. It happens, real life things always happen. But I'm not alone in this episode, for joining me as my guest this week is the newest star player for the Dark Elf Blood Bowl team, Kirioth.
Excellent reference straight off the bat.
Yes, for those of you who may not actually get the joke, is because there's a brand new Blood Bowl Dark Elf player called Kirioth, and we just call him Kirioth because we're used to that in the Warhammer community, let's be honest.
I loved how many messages I got about that. A surprising number of people were like really excited for me, and I had to kind of go, it's not that. It's definitely not that. It would be funny if it was, but I got to disappoint you all.
The funny thing is, when that Angels of Death Warhammer Plus series trailer first dropped, I had a few people messaging me saying, oh, congratulations on being in the series, because a few people thought I was a servitor, and I was like, no, that's not me, just someone who speaks similar to me.
That would be awesome, though. That would be a great cameo.
It would be a great cameo, but I doubt Games Workshop will ever do anything like that, let's be blunt.
Well, yeah, I don't see them ever naming anything after me intentionally, to be totally honest with you. I don't see it happening.
No. But then again, I do know quite a few Black Library authors. Maybe I can get a cameo if I can convince them or pay them enough. I don't know, but I digress. In the news this week, we're still waiting on the release date for the new Codex Space Marines, but a few details have since surfaced as a few people managed to get a copy early, and a couple of people are a bit confused because they just copy-pasted the old lore editions from the 9th edition Codex into the 10th edition Codex, which now means that Exorcists are no longer Imperial Fists, and Black Dragons and Storm Giants are now once again unconfirmed successors of who knows whoever. So a few people are a bit, huh?
Wait, they accidentally went back on what they'd previously stated by using older lore in the Codex?
Personally, I like to say they're correcting a mistake, because turning the Exorcists into an Imperial Fist Successor chapter was one of the stupidest things they did in terms of lore, in my own personal opinion, because it took away pretty much everything interesting about the chapter. But that's not the worst thing that's come out of that Codex from what I've seen so far. Because there appears to be a few imaging gaffes, like with the Iron Knights chapter. Because in the Codex, the Iron Knights chapter symbol is just a tactical arrow, even though their chapter symbol's on the fucking shield image in this picture.
Just an entire chapter of nothing but tactical marines. No
devastators,
nothing else. It's just tactical marines. I mean, the fact that he's also a Primaris intercessor confuses things even more. That's
all
great.
Tactical all the time.
We're all tactical. We ignore everything else. We allow our Primaris lads to have things like plasma guns and stuff in the squad because we are adhering strictly to the old way of doing things. Why do that? What a weird mistake to make.
I think it's more of a case of just haphazardly just copy-pasting, all the lore stuff, tweak the rules to fit with the new edition, and get out the door as quickly as possible. That's what smacks like to me, but yeah. I could be wrong. I'm just being a cynical bastard at the moment, because I'm in a very bad mood, because I'm still dealing with this fucking illness that's been kicking my ass, and you've been dealing with COVID yourself, so you know how.
Yeah, we are. I wouldn't say I'm on the tail end of it now, which is nice, but I got it at the start of September or something. So It's just been a solid month. I only started to not feel ill a week ago, which I was just come on, this is getting old now. This is getting real old. I want to be able to talk and record without... I mean, you're dealing with coughing and lung issues and stuff. It's exactly the same. And it's just you kind of sit down, it's time to be productive. I'm just going to cough for half an hour. I'll do that and then I'll be productive. And then by that point, you're too knackered to do anything.
Yeah, and your voice is all shot anyway, and your throat's all raw as fuck, and it hurts to speak for more than 5 minutes.
Yep.
So welcome to the new episode of Podcastus, ladies and gentlemen.
I got actively told off the last time I streamed. I was told to stop because I kept having to mute the mic to cough. People were like, "You need to leave." Okay, all right.
Was that the fans saying that, or was that your missus?
Oh, the wife doesn't care. It was all about that. It was all the audience telling me to stop.
Stop, he's already dead.
Pretty much. You know what? Actually, thinking about it, I've just decided with The Exorcist. Yes, I had totally wiped out the fact that they'd been made successors of the Imperial Fist.
A generic as fucking successor at that.
Yeah, I think I just blocked that out because the Exorcists are pretty cool, and they were sort of different and unique, and there was very sort of heavy kind of. There was a big sniff of a big whiff of Grey Knight about them, which was fun.
Because the funny thing was, like in the Deathwatch stories, ones by Steve Parker, they were out and out confirmed to be a Grey Knight successor chapter. So they went from an unknown successor chapter to a Grey Knight successor chapter to an Imperial Fist successor chapter to an unknown successor chapter. You got to feel sorry for them, haven't you?
They're just cycling round again. They're just going to go back round, and it's going to be like, well, originally we didn't know.
It's come home.
Yeah. I mean, also,
they've come home.
Of all of them, why Fist? Like that to me is just kind of
no idea.
There's no relevance there. There's nothing about the Exorcists that, to me, suggest that they could have come from anywhere but the Grey Knights. But if they did have to come from somewhere else, Fists would be like the bottom of the list.
I mean, if you want to make an actual generic successor chapter, just go Ultramarines, considering that officially 75% of all successor chapters are Ultramarines.
Yeah, just do that. I mean, unlike the Silver Skulls, allegedly Ultramarine successors, even though they clearly... I mean, they have the same goddamn icon as a full-on traitor legion.
Funny enough, when we had Sarah Corkwell on the show, who wrote the Silver Skulls novels, her original intention was to make them a White Scar successor chapter.
Oh, wow.
Because of, like the prognosticators, like, they do, and the taking of skulls, it's very much like with the White Scars and their trophy hunting and the Stormseers.
Huh.
So I was like, you know what? I would have preferred them to be, a White Scar successor chapter rather than just being implied to be Ultramarines. Because I've seen a few people turn around and say, oh, they were confirmed. It's like, yeah, your source you're citing doesn't actually state they were confirmed Ultramarines. It's just implied. It doesn't actually outright state. Because I've seen a few people say, like, oh yeah, Gilliman saw them and knew automatically they were Ultramarines. Like, where does it say that?
Yeah, no, it's. I think that I don't know that what they are a successor of for any given successive chapter. It does affect the personality of them, like just by reading of them. Like even if how they work doesn't change, Exorcists being like Fists successors just automatically to me makes them a bit more boring. And same thing with like Silver Skulls. Way more interesting to be White Skull successors. Way more interesting than just
especially considering that we don't actually have too many White Scar successor chapters in the spotlight. I think the biggest one is the Mantis Warriors, of all people.
And even then, like
even then they're stuck as like the the guys from Badab War who turned traitor.
Yeah, they haven't even they've not even got like a good reputation. They're just kind of like, yeah.
It gets worse than that, considering like their most prominent stories are written by C.S. Goto.
What are you talking about? You mean the best 40k author of all? No.
Yes.
I would suggest that his work is challenging, though, in a way that quite a lot of others aren't. But I would also suggest that something being challenging isn't always good.
I will one-up you and say, because like I'm actually going to directly parrot what Wib from Snipe and Wib said in regards to Ian Watson. Now, Ian Watson gets the setting of 40k better than most other Black Library authors. He understands the setting better. With how absolutely horrible it is.
Yeah. I'm trying... Okay, was it Ian Watson or was it C.S. Goto who wrote that Space Marine... Was it Terminators were using multi-lasers?
Yeah, that was Goto.
That was Goto. And was it also him who did Eldar stealing a Space Marine...
That was Goto as well, yeah.
Oh my god. Oh, it's so...
Goto also did like, oh yeah, Fire Dragon's fusion guns can't break this wooden barricade, despite the fact that they're capable of melting a Land Raider to scrap.
It's almost like they've got some sort of anti-tank weaponry or something, but let's ignore that.
You think? No. Now, Ian Watson was the guy who had a entire passage about how the Imperial Fists recruit how to eat poo.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah. Oh, again, something that I think I've probably blocked out to some extent. It's amazing how there's some things you read, and part of the brain just goes, well, I'm not keeping that. You're going to have to be reminded of that, because there's no way I'm retaining that information. That information could be used for that space could be used for literally anything but that, and it would be better. So I'm not having it.
Fair enough. So let's have something nice and futuristic with the new Necromunda Vanar Arachne Rig Suit Brutes, which are absolutely amazing and gorgeous, and a slight hint of the Avatar mech suits, with the cockpit, I feel, but they look really nice.
A little. I love them. I mean, for a start, plastic, not resin, so that's already a bonus, because I really loved the original one when they showed that off. But my biggest gripe was the fact that it would be more tricky to get hold of, and it's just, me personally, plastic is just so much easier to work with in every way. I know there are some like stalwart holdouts and fans of resin, but for me it's like, if you can do it in plastic, it'd be so much better to just do it in plastic. And they are every bit as cool as the first one they did, but they also fly, or at least like leap. And the fact that they look so kind of
dynamic.
Yeah. They work really well. They've got like a really good feeling of motion and like momentum, and it looks like they have just done like a colossal leap forwards. I love things like the big turbines that are in the carapace over the top. Like, just every part of it. There's something about the Vanar designs where they simultaneously look like they do not belong in any of Games Workshop's universes, but at the same time, there's like little things all over them that are like recognizably from those universes.
I get what you mean, yeah. I think it helps because, like, in universe, the justification as to why all their stuff looks so futuristic is because their STC is basically full of Dark Age tech.
Yeah.
Because from Apocrypha, as in like, so they say, as detailed in their book, Vanar actually arrived on Necromunda via a crashed colony ship that emerged from the warp during the Dark Age of technology. Well, actually, itself during the Dark Age technology, and emerged in real space in present day, and crash landed on Necromunda, and that's where we get the Vanar from, because the ship itself was also known as the Vanar.
So cool. Yeah. It's so cool.
Yeah. I like the fact they're actually taking the time in this edition to actually properly flesh out the gangs even more beyond just 2 to 4 pages. Now we actually have entire books for each gang and clan house and stuff. So cool.
Yeah, definitely.
And speaking of cool and things that fly, Necromunda Pterodactyl.
I love the pterodactyl. The pterodactyl is, I mean, for a start, properly scary. I think the mix of like the mix of skin and then these like riveted metal claws on the wings, the head almost looks like it's been implanted with stuff.
Have you ever seen a cartoon called Dino Riders when you were a kid?
I think I have, yeah.
Do you remember the brain boxes that the bad guys would put on the dinosaurs to control them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? Yeah, you're not wrong. Also, I feel bad for the squat who got his head. I'm assuming it wasn't just the helmet that was taken, but I mean,
it was only a small meal.
a mere morsel. There's something about the Necromunda stuff. Like 9 times out of 10, it'll be something weird, and it still looks brilliant. I really feel like Necromunda and Warcry seems to be where all of Games Workshop's most kind of adventurous designers end up.
They can just cut loose and just go crazy. It's like, fuck, it's only for Necromunda, let's go absolutely batshit insane.
Yeah. I mean, I still think the flying potato dude, the bounty hunter, I forget his name, Psyhound.
Yes.
Like, what the hell is that? Like, it takes the whole kind of idea of like the ammo cherubs and stuff, and like servitor cherubs and stuff. It's not dissimilar from that in a way, but it's like, I'd say it's a full-grown man. I don't know what it is. Just a flying lump of flesh with like bionic implants floating around. Why does it exist? And also, whoever did it, can they make more? Because it's so off. It's just so off the hook and weird, and it doesn't seem to fit, but then it totally does because of how dark and creepy and disgusting it is. That's always my go-to example, where it's like, if you want proof that when it comes to Necromunda, they go, all right, what do you want to do? And the person goes, I want to do this. And they go, all right, fine, just do it. That's the example for that.
We're just waiting for someone to go, what about Zotes in regards to Necromunda? So let's have a Zote bounty hunter on Necromunda. We can probably get away with it. I mean,
100%.
We got a Squat bounty hunter. We got a Beastman bounty hunter. Why not a Zote bounty hunter? Fuck it.
Yeah. I like it. Also, we've already had, we had a Zote in Blackstone Fortress.
We did, yeah.
Still,
and Blood
still
Bowl.
Around. Oh, yeah, I forgot about the one in Blood Bowl. Yeah, throw him in Necromunda. Make a whole. Well, they wouldn't make a whole gang, but it would be funny if they did.
Mm. And speaking of weird and off the hook, or weird and full of hooks, the new carry case with the weird silicone spikes. What the fuck? I'm not a fan.
Yeah, I remain thoroughly unconvinced. I need to see one. I need to hold it in my hands. I need to...
See if you can transport Sylvaneth without breaking it.
Oh, God, Sylvaneth, Nighthaunt, there's no way. There's just no way that some stuff would even survive in there. To be honest, the more I look at the example picture, where we have the Stormcast, what are they, Vigilors? I can't remember. I really struggle with Stormcast unit names, because it's gone the same way as the Primaris stuff.
Yeah. The Stormcast miniatures, there we go, just go that way.
Yeah, everything ends in ors. Literally everything does, and I just can't remember which one's which. The fact that they've put the ones with the bows that have the actual bowstring modelled on into that box, that either shows extreme confidence or that's setting up a lot of people for abject upset and failure when they put those miniatures in and then can't get them out again. I think, for me, the idea isn't necessarily silly or stupid, but I don't really understand what it offers over
a foam insert.
Like the ones that they literally already sell. Especially since the box itself looks so thin and flimsy. It just...
Yeah.
It looks like a repurposed Tupperware. And I don't want that look. If I'm paying for something to transport miniatures, and I'm not making my own magnetic case or which is the way I do. I just use magnetic sheets and those very useful boxes.
I mean, in fairness, I can understand why some people don't use magnets. When you got things like pacemakers and stuff like that, you obviously can't if you're got some of that. So fair enough. I understand why Games Workshop don't sell them purely for that reason. But the thing I'm concerned about regarding this is that model with the sword, because it's overlapping the lip of the box. So how are you going to close that?
Very, very carefully. I don't know. I think you just take the hit, don't you? What are you going to do? It's just going to... Yeah, I don't... I've tried looking at it again, and I did a whole stream talking about it and was asking other people what they thought, and the overall consensus was, yeah, no, I'm not using that. It was just the vast majority of
not
people
convinced,
just went, no. I mean, I've got a foam one, or if you're able to use a magnetic case, using that instead. It feels like a weird case of them deciding to reinvent the wheel. Kind of just going, okay, we need something that isn't the same product that everyone else makes, but performs the same task. What can we do? Well, everyone already does foam inserts, and we can't do magnets. Also, I think not just for health concerns, I think also with magnets, one of the big things with GW is being able to sell stuff and mark it up without it looking like a complete rip. They can mark up snips and hobby tools and super glue and plastic glue, and I don't know how they would sensibly mark up magnets. How do you brand a pack of magnets that you could find on Amazon for probably half the price? I don't know how far they would even bother trying to go with that. And if
the Adeptus Magnet Storeroom or something, I don't know. No English version.
Adeptus Magnetus, it just doesn't work, does it?
No. Oh, speaking of the paint tools and that, because you use an airbrush from time to time for your painting, don't you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you remember when Games Workshop released the hand flamer airbrush?
Yes. Yes. It was. I love that thing. It's absolutely ridiculous, but I don't know. For some reason, that one gets a pass in an incredibly hypocritical way.
I think it's because they took the time at least to try and make it look unique, if nothing else.
Yeah, they did something mad but different. They made it their own. And I think also it was never really designed to be like an airbrush, was it? It was like for base coating and kind of
my first airbrush kind of thing.
Yeah, like you just kind of, you need to prime a whole squad. Well, here you go. Here's your comedy paint flamer. There was an interview that I watched with a former product designer. I always forget his last name. His first name's Tom, and I can never remember his last name. Who talked about one of the things that they did when it came to product design at Games Workshop is also look at what the studio painters and stuff used. And one of the reasons that there's no GW wet palette was because no one used a wet palette in the heavy metal painting team or the studio painters. So it just never showed up. It was well, we don't use this. Do we use it when we're teaching people how to paint? Does it require that? No. So it just never became a thing. And I think it's a similar thing with airbrushes as well, where it's it would be a lot to try and get your own branding on an airbrush. It's already a very a very competitive market. There's loads of them, and it goes from ridiculously small budgets. I've got two. I've got a Cult of Paint airbrush, which I think retails for 80 quid or so, and then I've got a Badger something or other that I got off Amazon for putting streaking grime and white spirit and chipping medium and stuff through, because I was I'm not putting that through the good airbrush, because if it trashes it, then that's awful. I don't want that. So I ended up getting a £15 airbrush off Amazon that also came with a kit with multiple bits in. And I don't know at this stage if that's even a product that Games Workshop would want to try and make. It's there's so much choice, and you're going to be undercut everywhere unless you go to certain places where you're going to end up having to buy the same product as everyone else, but they've already established and they don't use it for demonstrating paint jobs or anything. But I feel like they should have extended that thinking, if that's what they were thinking, and that's kind of the vague sort of sense that I got from that interview. Maybe should have approached this box like that. Do we actually use this ourselves? No. Why not? Because it doesn't exist. Why does it not exist? Well, because we already make a perfectly good foam insert box.
Yeah.
That has done the job fine, and will continue to do the job fine, and most other solutions are pretty much the same, and it might work perfectly, but my initial thing every time I look at it is, that's not going to survive a drop. It's not going to survive. The models inside aren't going to survive. Half the ranges they make do not look compatible with that at all. I would not want to transport any of my Sylvaneth in there. I wouldn't want to transport Nighthaunt. I would not want to transport a fair few Eldar or Dark Eldar models in there either. It's just
try and transport Celestine in it.
That's the other thing as well. It is designed for skirmish games, for Kill Team and whatever, and Necromunda and Warcry and stuff. But if you wanted to transport anything bigger than a small squad, you're going to have to get one of the other solutions anyway.
Yeah, and considering that in some of the skirmish games, you get some of the bigger models. I'm pretty sure in Warcry you have at least a couple of ogres and Troggoths, and in Necromunda you got things the Ambots and stuff like that. So
yeah, there's already bigger miniatures in those games, and it's a weird one for me because it's okay, if you're transporting a small squad, use this. If you're transporting a bigger force, use one of the other cases we provide. And it's like, okay, what do the other cases look like? Well, those are foam insert cases. It's like, well, why have you made this then? If those already work, and those are the alternative, like the bigger version of this, why did you make this to begin with? Because
Money.
your other solutions aren't this thing that you're trying to say is better than the thing you already sell. What is going on?
Yeah. It's just... I'm not convinced about it, and let's see, Game Structure Pro going to drop it on the market for about 35 quid.
Well, I kind of want to get one and test it, to be honest. I really want to get one and test it. This is one of those ones where I like being wrong when it comes to stuff like this. I would love to be totally wrong about this. If this came out and people were like, okay, I've started to use this and it's brilliant, it's perfect, it protects everything so well, I have less breakages than if I use foam inserts, I find it more reliable than using a magnetic solution. Like, if all of that turned out to be true, I would absolutely love to make a video and be like, it turns out I am, once again, full of nonsense. And I acknowledge that. And that is a good thing, because this is clearly a good product and it works. I want to do that, but every time I look at it, I just immediately think, yeah, no, that's not going to work. It's so like...
I think one of the best ways to test it was just put some models in it and then just knock it off your kitchen table or something.
Yeah, just do a
See if it
short
survives the
drop.
fall. Yeah.
Just see how it... Not just how it survives, how the models survive.
Yeah, exactly. That's the main issue.
I hope it's good. I hope it is.
Hopefully. And speaking of good, that's also being re-released again. Storm of Iron is being re-released yet again. This is probably the fourth or fifth time now.
I was going to say, how many times has that come out now?
Well, there was the original paperback, and then it was released as part of the Honsu Omnibus, if I recall correctly. Then it was released in hardback as part of the Legends collection. Then it was released as a special edition, and now it's getting re-released as a hardback again. Oh, it also got re-released as part of the Reader's Choice Awards as well, I think. So that'd be 6 times.
Wow. I think I've still got the original paperback as well. It's good. It's a good book. But that's a lot of releases for one novel. They're really going for it.
I'm pretty sure they've done the same with Horus Rising, in fairness.
Yeah, there's been a few of those, hasn't there?
Yeah, there's been the hardback, the paperback, the limited edition that was released only in Warhammer World, the hardback part of the Legends collection, the one that's part of the collection that makes him look like a science textbook. So it's at least 5 times for Horus Rising. Oh no, there was also part of the paperback special edition as well that was released in conjunction with False Gods, which was all in black. So that's 6 times for that as well.
The one that was released only for Warhammer World, did that show up? In fact, was that the the Warhammer Cafe in the US open by that point, or was it literally just Warhammer World and nowhere else?
I think it was just Warhammer World because there was only 1,500 copies.
Oh man, that just fully sucks unless you're in the UK.
I had to get Snipe and Whip to go down to Warhammer World to pick me up a copy because they live near it. So I was like, hey, can you pick this up for me, please? It took them 3 attempts because the first time, the batch they had sold out before they even got in the building.
And
they were waiting outside for it to open. Yeah, it was ridiculous, but they got a copy in the end. So thank you, Snipe. Thank you, Whip. Much appreciated. The only thing that annoys me about is that because it's done in the style of the Siege of Terror limited editions, but the cover of the vinyl isn't the same shade of brown, so it sticks out like a sore thumb. I was like, no.
To be fair, they've got form for that though, haven't they? Is it just the collector's edition stuff for the Horus Heresy where the titles and stuff are wrong on the bindings, or at least they're not level? There are different heights and stuff. I'm trying to remember what series it is. But
there was one for the Space Marine Heroes collection, because I actually posted an image of it on Twitter. You had the character names, you had Cassius and Russ lining up at the bottom, but then Cassius and Azrael lined up at the top, and Shrike was in the middle, but Shrike's one was actually missing the Black Library logo on the side. And Russ was actually missing the actual name on the binder, apart from an indentation. It was actually missing the actual ink.
That's incredible. You know what? Thinking about it, I think it was just your picture that I saw. Now I think about it, I probably ended up commenting on the tweet. It's just for stuff like that, it bugs me no end. It really does. It sets me off so badly. Like if I've got a series of something, they all need to look the same. They have to have the same, like the same layout and style. And one of the most frustrating things, well, there's two. Getting into Game of Thrones just as the series started, but reading the books before I watched the series. The first book, the only version I could find, had Sean Bean's face on it, which annoys me to this day because the first book is black with Sean Bean's face. I've got into the habit of just calling him Sean Bean instead of Sean Bean, but just because that's a stupid joke in my house, and I just realised that I was saying it out loud. But like the first book has got his face on it. All the others are different colours and they've got art on them. And I hate it. I hate seeing them on the shelves where there's just one photograph of a real dude and then the rest of it looks nice. And the same thing with a lot of my Terry Pratchett books are really old, like really, really old. And I had to replace some of them because the covers were just falling apart because they've been read so often. And I thought I'd found matching ones. They arrived. They're taller and slightly thinner, and they have a different font, and the spine of the book has no art on it. And I opened them and I was like, this sucks. I hate this. I actively despise these books now.
It actually reminds me of a situation that my dad had, because he started getting into The Witcher after watching on Netflix, and he's bought novels, but they all have a big tampograph on the novels saying, now a Netflix series on them. It's like, oh no.
It's the worst.
Like if it was a sticker, it'd be fine, but it was actually tampographed on the book itself. So you can't get it off.
It's like, please, just let me enjoy the book. Let me enjoy this medium. I know it's available in another medium. It's fine. But that's why I bought these. You don't have to tell me. Stop it.
Yeah. And after that depressing amount of talk, let's talk about something that brings us joy, specifically a Joy Toy, as Joy Toy are releasing a Lionel Johnson figure.
Oh, it actually looks good. It actually looks so good. I remember seeing it and being like, this is awesome how good this is. He looks even more Charles Dance than the actual model, but apart from that...
Agreed. And to coincide with this as well, they're also releasing Azrael as well as a Joy Toy figure.
I really like that they're doing both. And the Azrael one is... It's pretty good.
And they're also releasing Lazarus, but no one gives a fuck about Lazarus.
Yeah, he's just whatever.
He's just there.
He's just there. I've just noticed something. Have they put the clip on the magazine even on Azrael's gun on a different side to the model? Yeah,
they did that when they did his Primaris model, because the way it was originally on his second edition model, it would not work in real life, because I'm sure you've all seen the picture of his gun.
I was misremembering. I thought with the update they'd put the magazine like facing towards him on the new gun, but no, it's the same. I tell you what, you don't have to tell me about the non-functional nature of his second edition gun. I mentioned it in the video talking about the upgrade to his model, like the update to Primaris, and the fact they changed the gun being a good thing because his old gun wouldn't have worked. I love that picture. And the number of people who thought that I was talking about the fact that the magazine is at the back and telling me that, no, that's a legitimate weapon. There are weapons like that. How do you not know what a bullpup is? Made me lose my mind. I was like, I'm not talking about the fact that it's a bullpup style weapon. I'm talking about the fact that the bullets can't go from the back of it out of the sharp bit at the front. It has no pointy end at this point because it can't take the ammo and project it out the front of the gun like it's what guns work.
Because you got the the cartridge ejection port not in line with the barrel.
It's just a nonsense. Like, is there a conveyor belt in there? Yeah, it's so good. But like, so a lot of people thought that I just assumed that if the magazine's at the back, it's not a functional gun. Instead, I'm like, no, look at it.
It doesn't line up.
Look at it. There's nowhere for the ammo to go. It's just a dead end. What are you going to do? It's too low down. It's not going to conveyor belt it up into the body of it. Is there like a warp portal or something in there? No, shut up. It's fine. It's just...
I'm more concerned about the plasma coils being right underneath where the bolt shells go. Considering like they tend to get very hot.
It's such a bizarre...
So basically, if you fire the plasma gun, you at risk blowing up your bolt shells inside the thing.
The thing is, I've seen the theory that I've seen most often is that the gun was not meant to look like that. But when they were sculpting his model, the way that they had it posed, his shoulder pad had to kind of cut into the gun for the pose to work. And so that's what the sculptor did. And like that's fine, that's whatever. When it comes to sculpting stuff, like we don't look at a model and go, oh, well, actually, the way that purity seal is, it looks like it's melting into the clog. You just accept that in some situations, the way that the sculpt has to work to get the effect is how it's been done. But
especially with a second edition miniature as well.
Yeah. But then, for some reason, for this, they just decided to double down and make it how it actually is, instead of just having the gun look different in an illustration in a way that would actually work. And so, for ages, you've just got this bizarre, like, Lion's Wrath joke that has just... The number of different versions of how it actually fires that I've seen, it's overwhelming how long people have been trying to work out how this stupid gun works. And all because it was like, well, we need to do a nice bit of artwork for it. And no one went, do we though? Could we not? Could we just not? Could we not draw that? Let's just leave it. No one's going to notice. Don't touch it. It's fine.
And speaking of toys, we're getting some cuddly toys from Tomy.
Wait.
So you can probably get these for your kids, Kirioth.
Have I not? How did I miss these?
The cuddly squig, the cuddly grot, the cuddly nurgling, and the cuddly cat thing.
Griffhound?
Yeah, it's a Griffhound, yeah.
Though, okay. I love them.
Actually, Christmas shopping sort, isn't it?
Unironically love those. Those are great. I still remember that when they did the first like Nurgling plushie, and there seemed to be a fairly healthy divide as to whether it was a fun thing or whether it was more kind of like dumbing down to 40k. I was firmly in the camp of everyone's going to want one of them.
Yeah,
literally everyone. Look at it. It's a
and let's be
Nurgling.
honest. And let's be honest. 40k is kind of dumb anyway. That's why we love it.
Yeah.
Just look at Liosreel's gun. There we go. Full circle.
I will point out just very quickly that my description of how ammunition gets out of a gun, I've leaned into making it as dumb as possible, mainly as a reaction to not knowing a huge amount about guns, and it's more fun to describe things as coming out of the pointy end than it is to sit down and learn all the proper terminology, because the people who don't care and know how they work broadly accept that whilst it's the wrong words, the spirit of the thing is correct. And the people who really like guns and don't like it when people get things wrong get very annoyed at the description of a gun having a pointy end, which makes it more fun to say. But yeah, I love these. I want to see like any and every critter. Like, when are they going to do? When are they going to do a plushie for the little gargoylians from the Cities of Sigmar?
Or a Ripper. Like, I want any of those. I want the little dude, the little snail shell with the legs. They need to make that one. I would 100% get that immediately. And now we move on to something a little more dark, shall we say, as Peter Veravari's Dark Coil series is being released as a limited edition box set, and can I just say, could that box be any more Junji Ito in appearance?
That's very like... Oh...
It's very Junji Ito Spiral, isn't it?
Yeah, that's very it's very stylistically different to 99% of anything else they've published. Like just
like PFA of Irish stories, because PFA.
Yeah, that is fair.
Because as some of my patrons have turned around and said, PFA of Ari might be a fever dream.
I mean, having read the Reverie, I'm not.
Read Requiem Infernal. Read Requiem Infernal, and I'd be even more like, what the fuck?
Oh, really? Okay, I'll have to read that then. I really like the Reverie. I thought the Reverie was really good.
Oh, I really like his work just because of how out there it is and just how far he's willing to push it in terms of the weirdness factor.
Yeah, definitely. And also, like, tackling something... Because the Reverie was pitched to me as being... It's like 40k horror, but it has Space Marines. And my initial thought was, I don't understand how you really do horror with Space Marines unless you're being actively hunted by one, because Space Marines, fairly famously, know no fear. So how do you get the horror feel of it when you have characters in there that are effectively immune to that effect? And then I got, like, I want to say about a quarter of the way through, and I thought, you know what, he's actually pulling this off really well. It's actually tense and atmospheric, and it feels very strange and very different to any other sort of 40k book, especially featuring Space Marines that I've read before. But yeah, it feels very, like, very fresh in a way.
Yeah, because I remember when I read through Requiem Infernal, and it was a straight out and out horror novel, and I was more surprised. Why is this not part of the Warhammer horror subline?
Yeah.
Because that subline had been out for ages by this point. So I'm just thinking, why have you taken one of the most horrific books you've actually put out in a long time and not put it in the fucking horror section?
Okay,
it's a straight up regular 40k book.
Oh,
but it's absolutely insane.
I have to admit that little box set is now growing on me. I wasn't sure at first, but it's growing on me. And I think to be fair, if you're going to give any box that sort of treatment, it feels like it's probably got to be him, right? It's like of everyone, it's probably got to be him.
Yeah, he's the only one out of all the Black Library authors who can actually pull off anything like Uzumaki at some point. But yeah, I am looking forward to this when it comes out, because I'm disappointed that most of his books are actually only released in paperback, and I prefer having hardback. I'm pretty sure Requiem Infernal is the only one in a good long time that actually was released in hardback.
Oh, right.
I think Firecast might have done back in the day, but I've not seen an actual copy outside of the one from the Legends collection. Because that book was fucking weird.
Definitely got a type.
Like, cause even though it's called... Because when you hear the name Firecast, and on the cover you got a picture of a commissar and a crisis suit, you think, it's going to be a Tau book or something, yeah? Yeah, it's about space Confederates. It's literally an Imperial Guard regiment called the Arkan Confederates, whose regimental flag is the Confederate flag.
Wow. What?
Yeah, and they have like steam-powered like Sentinel mech suits and stuff like that as well. And it's
is this
like
a time travel book? What is happening? Like,
funny enough, there is a scene which does actually imply time travel. Yes, there actually is. There's time, but like, there's also a scene in it as well, like a flashback scene where the Confederates are like reaching a settlement, but the settlement have all been taken over by like a Nurgle-like plague or whatever, so they all become zombies. And there's a bit where, like, the commanding officer, he grabs a small child and just yeets him through a window, and I just burst out laughing. It was meant to be horrific, like, oh my god, a zombie, get it off me, throw it, out of desperation. But the fact he just said he threw the child out the window, it just made me laugh. I don't know why.
That's great.
So defenestration, right through the window, smash.
We need more of that in books, just in general.
Oh dear. And what else do we have? There was the Middle-earth double tournament, but I'm sorry to all three Middle-earth players out there. Sorry, we're not going to cover that. But we'll mention it in passing.
It happened. And
it happened. Someone won.
You should be glad of that.
Yes. Oh yeah, the new Fabius Bile Belisarius Call book went on pre-order last week. So that should be coming out sometime this week with luck.
I'm so badly behind on just. I made like a determined effort to try and catch up so I could actually beat the Siege of Terror, and catch up to those. And I feel like, as someone who doesn't get anywhere near as much time for reading as I used to and would like to have, I feel like I sometimes blink and there's another 4 books out. And I'm just like, oh, Jesus Christ. Okay, so what happened to the other book that I was planning to read? Oh, that was released like 2 months ago and there's been another 20 since. Right, sure, okay. I'm just going to have to pick and choose and accept that I will never be up to date, probably, at this point.
Well, later on in this episode, I will be talking about the new Fall of Cadia novel, which goes on mass market release, I think, next week, or at least going on pre-order, if I recall correctly. So yeah, there will be spoilers for that later. Suffice to say, there is some weird things in that which I shall address. But speaking of weird things, starting for Necromunda, we actually missed a brand new Psyker model came out, and it's just me. It has a very Fenrisian vibe to it with the blonde hair and the fur cloak and stuff like that. It could very pull off a Fenrisian tribesman type thing. You could pull off of that.
I still think as well that is one of the coolest coats they've ever sculpted. It looks great. It's just like the panels and the straps, and then it having the fur down the lapels all the way down to the bottom, which are like edged in metal. It's great. It's so good. Again,
further proof that Necromunda just absolutely kills it with their models.
Yeah, and the thing is, she's relatively normal. Like, as Necromunda models go, she's relatively normal, but they still gave her an amazing coat. But then in that same article, they also showed off the cephalopod spectres. Just creepy little brain freaks again. Like the Delac have just got something. They just love a weird little freak. They just love a weird little freak with a brain sticking out.
Yeah,
and I cannot complain because they always look cool.
I also like how with Necromunda they're turning the Delac into very much like Shadow over Innsmouth type characters.
Yeah.
Especially consider the fact that, they're associated with the Sahar-Duin, which are, the shark people from Rogue Trader. So there's your Deep One connection right there.
Yeah. I mean, they sculpted them to look like a collection of mad scientists who exclusively work on people who are still alive. And I feel like they did all of that. Then they were like, okay, so we're going to do some bigger units. We're going to do some special units. What are we going to do? And someone went, if anyone is taking brains out of things and putting them in robots, it's clearly this gang, so let's just do that.
Yeah.
Let's just, lean into it. They already all look like they would do this for fun. So let's have flying robot octopuses with giant brains. Let's have little lads with brains exposed. It's such a good look, and it fits them so well.
I tell you what they remind me of. You ever seen a film called Dark City?
Yes. Oh, it's been a long time since I've seen Dark City.
The Dalek are literally the guys from Dark City. They literally are.
Yeah, they really are. I've never put that together before. Oh, wow. I wonder if that... Oh, I want to know now. I want to ask, is this where you got this from?
I just want to watch Dark City now.
Yeah, and when the podcast heard, go and watch Dark City.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, Neve, if you're listening to this, go watch Akira. There you go. That's my requisite. She needs to go watch Akira because she still hasn't done so yet.
Is this a recurring? Is this
it is a recurring thing
now? Every single time.
The funny thing is, we've brought this up a few times, and every time we've brought this up, the guests we've had would be like, "You've not seen Akira?" We had Mark Collins on, and he was like, "You've not seen Akira?" I'm pretty sure, with Chris Peach, he said the same thing. So you've not seen Akira?
Just getting told off by a different guest every time.
Go watch Akira, damn it, and go watch Dark City.
Everyone's going to go and watch Dark City. You're going to see I've never actually tried to see if this is a thing in the analytics side of YouTube, But wouldn't it be great if you could see where people paused, went away for a bit, and then came back? Because I want to know how many people reached the Dark City talk, paused the video, went away, watched it, or watched the trailer, and then came back and resumed.
If you went and watched Dark City, leave a comment down below.
Yeah, that's the best way to do it. If you went and watched the film, say. We want to know.
And in other news, we also had some more reveals for Legions Imperialis, such as with the drop pods, land speeders, and jet bikes, I believe it was.
Yeah, I don't know why, but for me, the Proteus speeders don't quite work in that scale. For me, they're not. I don't know. I'm not. The rest of them are all right, but there's something about the shape of the Proteus that just hasn't shrunk down all that well.
I get what you mean. It seems very much like someone just took one model and just broke the front bit off and stuck something underneath it.
Yeah, I think it's because, like,
baby's first conversion kind of thing.
Yeah. Like, by necessity, they've got to be less detailed. There's no way they can be as detailed.
Oh, of course, yeah.
But for things like the Javelin, even for like the Outriders and the jet bikes, like they kind of have shrunk down in a way that makes sense to the eye. Yeah. Like, I just see a smaller version. With the Proteus, for some reason, some bits feel like they're at a bigger scale than the rest. And I know it's not actually true. Like, I know that's not an accurate statement, because you can compare the size of the guns with the ones on the Javelin. And, you know, you can see the size of, like, bolters and, like, heavy bolters on the scimitar jet bikes. And you can compare all of that to the Proteus. But because the gun is just hanging out the front, and because the little antenna that's sticking out of the front of it has had to be resized and it's ended up quite a bit chunkier than it used to be, like, it just makes it, the proportions feel off. And I don't actually think that they necessarily are. I think it's just, for whatever reason, my eye is not getting drawn to the bulk of the model. It's getting drawn to the gun at the front, and then everything else looks weird behind it for some reason.
Yeah, I get what you mean, yeah.
Overall, though, they've done, like, for the vast majority of stuff they've shown off for Legions Imperialis, it looks good. Like, they've did the shrinking down of everything. So far, at least, I feel like it still looked decently detailed. It still very much looks exactly like the bigger version of it. Like, I think they've done a really good job on 99% of it. There's just like the occasional one thing where for some reason my brain just goes, no, I just don't like it at that size. I just don't like it.
Yeah. And I think there's a couple of other things in the news, but it's very minor stuff like armies on parade kind of thing. Some people painted some models, how to paint some NIDs. Standard fare. So I think that will be it for the news. So, ladies and gentlemen, consider this your spoiler warning for Fall of Cadia, considering that book is not out yet. So we're entering the spoiler and brawl in 3, 2, 1, CM Punk to WWE confirmed. Ha ha ha, wrestling joke. Anyway, so I'm not going to go through the entire story beat by beat, because a lot of it is just like, oh, some Imperials shot some Chaos. Imperials shot Chaos. Chaos shot Imperials. So back and forth. It's very much just a huge battle. So I will go over some small details, but not the entire book beat by beat. So firstly, Abaddon has an adopted daughter.
Wait, what?
Yeah. He has an adopted daughter named Morkarth, who controls the Will of Eternity, the Blackstone Fortress. Like, all of her bones have been coated in blackstone, one of her eyes has been replaced with a blackstone orb, her teeth are made of blackstone, and she controls the Blackstone Fortress, which is now infected with like all these fleshy chaos growths and stuff like that. But that's not the weird thing I mentioned earlier.
That's not the weird. I mean, it's pretty... Is that something that's even been hinted at before?
No, not to my knowledge.
Okay, all right.
The weird thing for me is the fact that there's a Raven Guard and Black Templar Lieutenant running around. The reason why that's weird is because the Lieutenant rank wouldn't be reintroduced into the Astartes until after the return of Guilliman. Now, before someone comments down below, yes, I know the Black Templars had their own Lieutenant equivalent called Castellans, but this guy's not a Castellan, he's referred to specifically as a Lieutenant.
That is a bit of a weird one. I'll give you that. That. I mean,
Black Templar and Raven Guard Lieutenants running around, yeah.
If they'd have called him a Castellan, then that would have made sense for him.
That would have been fine, but he's referred to explicitly as a Lieutenant, like other Black Templars refer to him as Lieutenant.
Yeah.
And stuff like that.
Is the Raven Guard also a Lieutenant?
Yeah.
Oh, so even if you called the Black Templar by the
Castellan.
Even if you call him by the chapter specific rank that he would have instead of the thing he's being called, it still wouldn't make a huge amount of sense for there to be another lieutenant running around at a time where lieutenants weren't really a thing.
No, I mean they were a thing during the heresy, but after the introduction of the Codex Astartes, that rank was dissolved.
Yeah.
So basically, you had sergeant and then captain and then chapter master, that kind of thing. So. Yeah, there's a couple of other weird things in this as well. There's a bit where the Dark Angels and the Space Wolves are fighting side by side, and it's stated as this is something that never happens, and it's yes, it fucking does, because they even have a ritual between the two chapters whenever they fight alongside each other for them to reenact the duel between Lion and Russ. That's a huge thing between the chapters. Yeah,
that's something that was set up literally in the Horus Heresy books.
Yeah, the dueling campaign. Yeah.
So what
but them fighting alongside each other apparently is completely unheard of. It's that's fucking not.
It kind of feels like there's just I don't know, stuff out of place.
Yeah. I mean, I want to preface this now. It's not a bad book. In fact, it's actually a pretty good and pretty entertaining book. So I do recommend it if you haven't read through, the actual Fall of Cadia Gathering Storm book. I do recommend it. It is a good book. But as someone who focuses on the lore side of things, stuff like this really gets under my skin and grinds my gears. No, that's not right. No, kind of thing.
Well, that's the thing. If it's kind of actively ignoring or glossing over stuff that's been pretty consistent previously, stuff that's been laid down as being this is how this has worked, and we know that's how it worked, and then suddenly it's just presented as something different. I to be honest, it kind of makes sense to kind of sit there and go, I'm sorry, what are you talking about? Why?
What was the other thing? Oh yeah, there's a scene where Orvin Highfell, who's the commander of the Space Wolves here, he's the captain of the Iron Wolves company. There's a bit where they say they say he's been around since the Horus Heresy. It's I can forgive that because it's included with the preface of they say that. So okay, in universe, someone may believe that. Fine. He fucking weren't though, because if he was, he'd be older than fucking Dante and Bjorn.
I was gonna say.
But again, they do say they say that he was around during the Horus Heresy, so I can forgive that one.
Yeah, if it's a kind of an awestruck sort of so much respect for this great warrior. Oh, they say he's been, because then you can just in your head go, yeah, they're wrong, but they can definitely say it.
Oh yeah, definitely. So I actually wrote down a list of weird things Belisarius Cole acting very much like a child. He uses the phrase nincompoop.
That's, I mean, come on, you can't go wrong with a good calling of someone a nincompoop.
Maybe not, but he does refer to Arkenland as a hack, and it's no, you're not dissing my boy Arkenland. Sorry, no. Arkenland had a monkey. What do you got?
Oh, I love that though. Calling him a hack. Of all things, why? What did he do that was particularly hacky?
Oh, it's I'm not like that hack Arkenland. I actually know what I'm doing. It's what, you mean the guy who actually, invented a whole bunch of custodian tanks? I mean...
I kind of I don't know, I think I kind of like petty Belisarius Call, though. Being sassy for no reason. Just But
yeah, one thing I found quite amusing, Jaren Kell is canonically having a thing for muscular women. Good on you, lad. Because there's a bit where there's an Inquisitor who was of Cadian birth, who's described as being very tall, very broad shoulders, very thick with muscle, and Kell's described as finding her as the most attractive creature he has ever seen. So it's like, good on you, lad.
Nice.
Yeah, hashtag Kell loves muscle mommies.
Oh, God. That better not become a thing.
But speaking of Kell, though, he lasts longer in a fight against Abaddon than a Custodian does.
Well, I mean, he's all fired up, isn't he? He's doing his best to impress the muscly Inquisitor.
Because when Trazyn releases the Custodian from its Tesseract vault, he beats the shit out of a whole bunch of Space Marines. He sees Abaddon, he charges Abaddon, and Abaddon just kills, like a one backhanded swing, kills it instantly. And it's like, I expected the Custodian to put in a little bit more of a fight.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it's Abaddon. Yeah, and I can very well believe Abaddon will kill a Custodian if given the chance. That's not the issue here. The issue is like the contemptuous ease is like just a backhand.
That's something that like
because when you get Primarchs like Lorgar struggling in a fight against a Custodian, when you have a Primarch struggling and Abaddon just backhanding in one shot, it's like.
I feel like there's a few kills like that in just like 40k books as a whole. Like the whole thing of we're going to show how badass this person is by having them deal with someone else who was pretty badass in a contemptuously easy way, but it ends up becoming like absurd how easy it is. Like the one that I always think of is the end of the Word Bearers Omnibus. And I can't remember which word bearer it is, but
probably Marduk.
Was it Marduk? I think
he was the main character. I imagine it would.
Yeah, it was. No. It was. So what was it? Marduk that fought the White Consul's captain, but he did it with no armor and no weapons, and killed the White Consul's captain. And then, like, not even 100 pages later or something, a Grey Knight Terminator just kills one of the word bearers. Like top ranking Space Marines. I forget the name. I forget which character it was, but I remember specifically reading like, man, that's kind of you're doing it. You're coming on a bit strong there, having this word bearer take out the White Consul's like duelist with no weapons. That is a bit that's a bit over the top. And then by the end of the book, being like, you've got to calm down, like because it was a case of one-on-one combat. The guy without weapons wins because he's so powerful with chaos, and then the end of the book, someone more powerful than him just gets one shot by a Grey Knight, just immediately killed. He just teleports on the bridge and just murders him. And I'm like, guys, you've got to get the power scaling a little bit more like a little bit more not real, but we're getting to the point where someone is...
Scale it back a little bit.
Scale it back a little bit. At least have it take like 2 hits from the Grey Knight Terminator against someone who has been around for, in the Eye of Terror, is massively powerful.
Parry, thrust, kill. Rather than just shoots, rather than just shank.
Yeah, just insta-kill is... It's a funny way to show how strong someone is, but it completely downplays everything before it for me. So like the kind of Custodian being immediately wiped out by Abaddon, it's like, oh, okay, wow, he's strong. But then that means that everyone that like Custodian's killed up to that point was absolute hot garbage, like just worthless. Why were they even there? Like, do you know what I mean? Right? It's
cannon fodder, yeah.
Yeah, the pinnacle, like. If you make the pinnacle too high, it makes everything underneath it, like, just not strong enough to really have any sort of connection of, like, feeling whether they were strong to begin with. It kind of makes everyone super weak compared to this one dude, whereas they're Space Marines. Some of them are going to be stronger than others and better than others. It's kind of established that that's how it works. But if it's just like, I have killed 50 of your finest, you've killed me immediately. It's like, well, how bad were the rest of his group then? What were they doing?
Hey.
Oh.
What else was there? So there's a scene earlier in the book where the Space Wolves are preparing to board the Blackstone Fortress to sabotage it. And Abaddon teleports in amongst them. And you ever seen Rogue One?
Yes.
That scene at the end with Darth Vader just hacking his way through the rebels. He basically does that with a bunch of Cadians. And it's brilliant the way he does they really get off. Like, they really show how much of a terrifying presence he is. Because he just Darth Vader's his way left and right, hacking through them all. Like, he grabs one guy, pulls on his arm so hard that he pulls half the rib cage out with it.
Oh, Jesus.
And it's
I
nice.
don't know about the biology of that, but I 100%
No, neither do I, but it's
approve.
40k. Yeah, biology kind of went down the toilet when they said, oh yeah, the Space Marine process fuses the rib cage together. It's and he would suffocate.
How do they do any form of exercise without immediately keeling over?
In fairness, they did change that in more recent years. Instead of it being a solid bone press plate, it was overlapping bony plates. It's okay, that makes more sense. It can actually expand so he can actually breathe.
Yeah. Oh, imagine if they get the sticky rib, though. Do you ever get that, where you get the sticky rib? Imagine that with overlapping, armoured... Oh, it's so bad. Oh, no.
Oh, God. One thing I really did like about this book, though, is that it shows that Creed, while he is an amazing military strategist, as the Lord Castellan of Cadia, he is way in over his head. Because there's bits he thinks right, what do I do when I was a colonel? I know, Operation Human Wave, just throw troops at them until they die. Right, I'll do that with the Air Force, and then he gets called up by the Air Marshal by saying, that's a stupid fucking idea. You send them all out at once, they all come back and refuel at once, haven't they, you dumb fuck? Oh, I didn't think about that. No, that's why I'm the Air Marshal. Kind of thing.
I kind of like that, to be honest.
I like it. It humanises him a bit more.
Yeah,
so
makes it more...
relatable in a way.
Yeah, makes him more human, makes it more
I
obvious
really like that,
yeah. Being in a position of power doesn't necessarily mean that you know everything, and also that's why delegating responsibility exists. Leave it to the people who know. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, because he ends up reprimanding the Air Marshal for calling him out, but then he does actually later on say no, he was right though. He knows more about the air shit than me. I should have asked his opinion.
Yeah.
So you know what?
Yeah.
Good on you, Creed. There's also a really great scene where they're at the hololith for the map of Cadia or whatever, and Kel hands him a drink. He's about to drink it, looks down, sniffs it. This is water. Yes, sir, you have to stay hydrated. Yeah, the only water I want is frozen and floating in some whiskey. Go on, give me a real drink.
Going for the Churchill school of military leadership then.
Pretty much, considering apparently his office stinks of just cigar smoke, whiskey, and fried meat. Because they're not allowed to open a window because windows are a security hazard in Cadia.
I mean, to be fair, let's be honest. I think something that is downplayed when it comes to 40k is just how many people would be functioning alcoholics. I mean, let's be honest. Absolute hellhole. Everywhere sucks. There's imminent threat of dying in some god-awful way, even if you're just a lowly clerk in 210 levels down below the city. You never know. There could be, gene stealer cults down there. Who knows what's going to happen? Everyone would be drinking 100% of the time. It'd just be it's 9 a.m. It's time for my 14-hour shift. I will have Weetabix and sherry. Let's go.
14-hour shift. You get a half day.
Yeah.
But speaking of underground, they also do touch on Cadia's criminal underground. People making counterfeit ration cards and stuff like that.
Oh, that's fun.
That's actually a really cool detail. And there's a bit, because this mafia boss, for lack of a better term, he ends up being brought before Creed because he's not only got his own communication channel, which he's hijacked, because this is brought to Creed's attention where they find some security footage, some Chaos cultists and a Chaos Spaceman underground. Footage cuts out, cuts back in again. Chaos Spaceman's buried in rubble, and this mafia boss just blasts his head off with a melter gun. And it's this is our turf, fuck off, kind of thing.
That is badass. I love that.
He gets the mafia boss gets brought before Creed, brought before Kel first, obviously. And Kel says, you have some information we want. You're going to give it to us. what are you going to give me? We're going to give you a chance to survive. I was like, yeah, I want something actual substantial. It's like, you want something substantial, sir? Why do I have to call you sir? I'm a colour sergeant. That's not a real rank. It's like, I was appointed by King. No, you're his personal assistant. You're just his bitch. It's like, they just gave him the rank of colour sergeant so you can say, like, I'm chief fuckboy now. It doesn't mean anything. And then Creed turns around from his chair and says, no, you're right. You know, it's unfair to ask you for something without giving you something in return. What do you want? Blah, blah, blah. Okay, here you go. Oh, by the way, here you go. What's this? It's a uniform. I'm not working under you. Too bad. You're Sergeant Fuckhead now. So basically got press ganged.
Nice. Oh, God. I love the idea of just gang leaders just offing Chaos Space Marines.
Just casually with Melguns on the Zarturf. Blam!
Yeah. I don't care how big you are, this still isn't your territory.
I mean, in fairness, even a Chaos Space Marine will be one-shot by a melt gun at point-blank range.
Oh, definitely.
Especially in the face. Blank. Nothing's surviving that.
Just the gall of it, though. The gall of it. I'd imagine most people wouldn't look at it and go, I reckon I can get a blast off before something bad happens. That guy, no, 100%. He wanted to protect his turf, and he did it.
He was basically the Cadian Heisenberg. Stay out of my territory. God, I need to watch Breaking Bad again. Well, interesting bits in it. Oh, yeah, another interesting bit. I wouldn't necessarily say weird. You can chalk this up to being a retcon. But Eleanor and Genevieve, you know, the Gemini Superior, they're shown to have in their possession a Paragon warsuit. Which I thought was kind of interesting. Because obviously the Paragon warsuit wasn't a thing back in 7th edition. It was like, you know, reintroduced in, you know, 9th.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know what? Nice little retcon. I can respect the fact that they have one, like, you know, sitting in storage in their, you know, church. Yeah, I can see that. I can see that happening.
I think when it comes to, like, adding stuff in, when I say to previous material, like, when it comes to, like, novelizations of things that have happened quite a while ago in the lore, like, adding in stuff that has since been released, it's a fairly, like, I don't know, harmless, like, inoffensive way of justifying the fact that, you know, a lot of stuff shows up and it's like, yes, here's the thing for whatever this faction is, and they've always had it. I mean, it only exists now, but they've always had it. Because it's easy to kind of go, well, why can we only use it now if they've always had it? But it's like, it's one of the situations where, you know, the lore and the background and the books aren't congruent with running a miniatures war game, which requires new releases and, you know, actual new product to shift. So having things in there, as long as it's not too egregious. I forget, was it? I'm trying to think
like having Primaris Marines during, like, you know, the Armageddon War kind of thing.
Yeah, like, as long as it doesn't like go too far back. With things like, sometimes it can be egregious. Having said that, was it, I think, Dark Imperium, where it felt like a lot of that book was. It felt like a lot of that book
and toys.
It was literally like Sergeant whoever looked over at the Primaris intercessors marching alongside their aggressor companions.
While the Inceptors flew overhead.
Yeah, there was a lot of that, it felt like, in that book. I can't remember most of that book. I can just remember reading a lot of very specific unit names, which felt odd.
I'll be honest, the only real thing I remember from Dark Imperium 1 was that Space Wolf being really sarcastic to the Ultramarines, like we have our orders. We have our orders. Just like in response.
That's the thing as well. Didn't they rewrite? Was it Dark Imperium that got a rewrite?
And Plague War. Both the first two books did. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't do I didn't read the rewrites. I only read the book.
No, to be honest. So. But yeah, the fact those two books exist, you know, when people say retcons aren't a thing in 40k, yeah, those two books say otherwise. Yeah. Because they are blatant retcons. The books themselves got rewritten, so it's like, yeah, that's a retcon.
We've decided we do not like how this played out, so we're changing all of it. Okay, sure.
we want to tie into Dawn of Fire, which is... And And speaking of Dawn of Fire, one of the main complaints with Dawn of Fire 1 was the fact it was way too bloated with way too many plot lines. Now, Fall of Cadia, I feel, also has a stupid amount of plot lines. Like, because we're going from, between, Creed and Kel to Genevieve and Eleanor to, a Cadian pilot to a Cadian squad leader to Mafia boss to Abaddon to Acanthos to Morcath to the Black Templars, Belisarius Cawl, Trazyn. We're going back and forth between 12 different points of view.
How long is the book?
It's very long.
Oh,
it's like close to 600 pages. It's very long.
Okay.
But I think this works better in this book than it does in Dawn of Fire because we're not spending that long between. We're jumping back and forth fairly quickly. So everyone's getting a chance to, do their thing. Well, except for Belisarius Cawl, because he shows up in chapter 2 and then doesn't show up again until chapter 30 or whatever. But we're spending no more than 2-3 pages per point of view rather than entire chapters.
Yeah.
So the fact, and each chapter is quite long, so with each chapter you're going between at least 5 or 6 different characters per chapter. So I think it works better, but I do feel like it could have toned down some of the, POVs a little bit. Maybe if we focused on, say, Creed and Kel, Trazyn, Cawl, Abaddon, maybe a regular Cadian trooper, and a space marine or whatever, 6 POVs, I think that would have worked fine, personally. But again, because we're jumping back and forth so rapidly, it doesn't feel as we're not spinning our wheels.
Yeah.
We are constantly moving forward.
Sometimes with lots of character changes, but long gaps in between, you have that kind of reset moment where it's you jump back into the point of view of a character and it takes a moment because you're like, oh god, okay, where did we leave them? Where are they in this story now? Hang on. And it takes a second to get into it. With smaller gaps, that kind of alleviates that a bit, doesn't it?
It does. Because there's one issue with Dawn of Fire that really pissed me off. Well, I say that's probably a bit strong to me to say, but really irked me. Was the fact chapter 2 of Dawn of Fire, Avenging Sun, I should point out, it set up a huge plot thing with the Nurgle Plague. It set that up, and we didn't touch until chapter 27 or whatever.
Oh god!
I understand the whole point of Chekhov's gun for a plot point, but maybe remind us once in a while, maybe every couple of every 5-6 chapters, just remind us, kind of thing.
Yeah, mentioning a thing once and then it's showing up at the end. It's haha, the solution was here all along, mate. That was 700 pages away. What do you want from me? I'm not going to remember that. Come on.
Now, there was another really good scene involving some of the Cadian troops, out in the Castle Plains. It's middle of the night. They've been attacked by the Volscani, fire from the mechanized assault and all that. It's quiet, and all you hear in the distance is just and the Cadian's what's that noise? I was dunno. Sounds like a train. It's there's no trains around here. And you got Cadian who used to be a farm boy. It's huh, I know what that is. It's what is it then, smart ass? Sounds like hooves. Hooves? Oh shit, Rough Riders! And actually get attacked by Rough Riders. It's you know what? I like that setup. That was actually really good. Just it sounds a bit weird. It also reminded me of that scene from Zulu, if you've ever seen it.
Yes.
When they're marching on Rorke's Drift and it's damn funny. Sounds like a train coming. It's so now we have Michael Caine the Cadian. Michael Cadian, there you go.
Michael Cadian. All right, someone convert that immediately.
We all know he'd be a Praetorian, though, let's be honest.
Yeah, definitely. 100%.
But yeah, that's a good scene. There's also a plot point with a Cadian recon pilot whose job is literally just to fly overhead and take pictures and then fly back without getting shot down. She ends up being the pilot of her own actual Valkyrie, with actual guns this time rather than just a camera, which is nice. Shame how she dies though, because literally when the Blackstone is dropped on when the Blackstone is dropped on Cadia, the blast wave hits all of Cadia. it literally says like, "Oh, Sheen, if you are pilots, we're in the mess hall, just grabbing a quick meal, and then you'll get decapitated by a piece of sheet metal going flying through the tent."
Oh my god!
It's like we're all in one shot. All dead. It's like, well,
what the hell? That feels really mean for some reason. I don't know why.
I think it's to play on the whole war as hell thing.
Yeah, I just at least have her get shot down in a line of duty or something. God,
she did get shot down, but she survived the crash. Her co-pilot didn't, but she survived the crash, and she ended up trekking across the Casa Plains. She thought she encountered like friendlies because she was dialing in the frequency requesting aid. Someone answers, and it turns out they're just like scavengers who just nicked a whole bunch of like stormtrooper equipment. And she ends up getting saved by Space Wolves. Like, "Oh, can I get a ride with you?" "Sure, hop on. You're sitting on top of the Rhino because we can't fit you inside." So she's sitting on top of Rhino. It's like, "It's a very bumpy ride."
That's quality though. Like just sitting on top as asked for, not going, "Well, can I sit in someone's lap or something?" No, right on top.
Oh, and there's a great bit near the end where Creed basically gives the evacuation order for Cadia. The muscular Inquisitor, which I mentioned earlier, she basically put out a planet-wide transmission saying, like, "No one leaves Cadia, everyone stays, because you've all seen demons now. Guess what? You all have to fight until Cadia's destroyed and die with it. Tough shit. I'm the Inquisitor, bitch." Greyfax, who by this point's been, freed from stasis, says like, "Yeah, I'm overriding that. Who the hell are you? I'm an Inquisitor, bitch." So it's like a bit of a bitch off. And near the end, right at the end, the Cadian squad sergeant, who ends up getting promoted to like major, good on her. She's like dealing with the evacuation. The Inquisitor turns up and says like, "No one's evacuating. Stop this now." And she's like, "Oh, you might want to get down, Inquisitor. Lots of enemy snipers in the area. It'd be a shame if we lose you." Bang. "Oh, shame about that sniper, eh, Collins? Shame, sir."
Oh my god. That's awesome. That's great. Oh.
We call it the Catachan approach.
Oh god, I love that. That's
Just saying on a punch channel, it's like, "Yeah, there are snipers here. Best keep your head down. Whoops, never mind. What a shame."
If only there were some witnesses to corroborate my story. Hey lads, yeah, weird.
Yeah, we all saw the laser light.
Yep.
I
love that.
There are some genuinely great moments in this book. Again, there's also some other weird things like, the character Ucanthos, who became a demon prince. It's shown half in the book that he ascends to demonhood halfway and then it just stops. So he's a half demon prince, which I find a bit weird because like every single instance I've ever seen whenever a Chaos Space Marine ascends to demonhood is that if their ascension is interrupted at any point, they become a Chaos Spawn. Because this is shown in the Censure story, during Horus Heresy with, Aenid Theo and Curtha said. It's shown in the first Fabius Bile novel when that Chaos Lord's trying to ascend on top of that craft world. And a couple of instances as well. So it's a bit of a weird choice. I mean, I'm sure there might be an instance where it has happened, but after seeing those instances, it just seems out of place in my opinion.
The guy just gets stuck halfway.
Yeah, so like he's got like one horn coming out, one of his hands is a crab claw kind of thing.
I was going to say, is it like the right side of his body is all swollen and demonic and then the other side is still normal? Because that would suck.
Kinda.
Oh, man. It's not even a cool way for it to happen.
Yeah. Also, he has a demonically possessed shadow. Like, literally, his shadow is possessed.
That's... What happened to you? Well... I was sort of trying to ascend to become a demon prince, but for some reason,
the
half of it went into my shadow. And
no, shadow thing happened before that. The shadow thing was before then.
Oh, okay.
Because he wanted to strike a bargain with the Chaos Gods, but they wanted something off his, but he didn't want to give him his body or his soul. So fuck it, you can have my shadow. All right, we'll take it. It's like very easy to please. Like, yeah, have my shadow.
Oh, no wonder he didn't get the full demon prince treatment. He's just trying to fob him off with. It's shadow. Come on.
Because like when his
up now.
Because when his ascension stops halfway, he starts getting really pissy with Khorne. It's like, Khorne, you little bitch, finish the fucking job. It's like, nah, but Khorne's looking the other way, you're not spilling enough blood. It's like, all right, for fuck Khorne then. I'm going to worship another god, with blackjack and hookers. It's like,
I'm going to take my weird shadow with me.
Just spill some blood and he'll turn his eye back to you. That's all you have to do, you idiot.
I'm sure most Chaos Space Marines at that point, or just most Chaos worshippers, would just start killing the people around them, not start complaining about it. You'd just be like, okay, well,
it's like, you're no Khan, the betrayer.
Given I follow Khorne, there's a fairly significant reason as to why this might have stopped where it is. You come here, I'm going to slit your throat. Instead, it's like, you have not finished the job, sir. I'm not paying you until it's complete. Like, what?
It's a case of like, for a Khorne worshipper, you're very whiny.
Yeah.
But one of the best lines of dialogue in the entire story is when the Blackstone's being basically launched into Cadia. Morkarth, Abaddon's daughter, is still on the Blackstone and contacts the Vengeful Spirit. It's like, Dad, what are you doing? I can still use this. We still have a fucking warp cannon. And it's like, nah, it's not useful anymore. So we're going to get rid of it. It was like, well, can I at least come on board the ship then? It's like, nah, you're not of any use to me either. Well, god damn it, Dad. Well, fine, at least give me your name. At least allow me to call myself Morkarth Abaddon. No. Oh, come on, Dad. And she starts crying. And Abaddon says, I'm sorry. I disappointed you. But in my experience, that's what fathers do.
Oh, no. Oh, that's rough.
It's like, that is a brilliant line.
Oh God.
And it's like, so, yep. Yeet.
It's not just like, it's literally like thousands of years of disappointment just summed up in one very, very, like, grim, cold exchange. Oh, nice.
Let's be honest, you can sum up 40k as literally thousands of years of daddy issues.
Yeah, pretty much.
But there is also another good scene when Belisarius Core is trying to activate the pylons. And he's like saying, like, Trazyn, can you do something? Because, like, Abaddon's right there. Do something. So it's like, fine. Let's out all these, like, entire company of Horus Heresy era Ultramarines, and the captain of the Ultramarines, he thinks that Abaddon's Horus. Like, he sees the Talon Horus, like, it's Horus. I will fight the traitor right here, because he still thinks like he sees like he sees the Black Legion and he thinks like, I don't know this Legion. Is it the Word Bearers? Is it the World Eaters? I don't know. But then he sees Abaddon, thinks he's Horus, and then he and Abaddon have a fight. It's like, wait, Abaddon? It's like, oh yeah, I remember you. Well, you're not going to stop me from reaching Terra and the Emperors, and where's my father? And it's like, oh, they know. All the Primarchs are dead. I envy you. Bang.
Oh, I just love the fact that there is a Necron Lord just with a big vault of all the weirdest stuff from all the most troubling times, and it's just like, oh, you want help in this situation? Allow me to open my Pokeball and let's let this thing out that I shouldn't have. Like, that I shouldn't have this, but still. It's like,
I release this company of Ultramarines, I release these Heresy era Salamanders, the Custodian, and like you see some of the cadence like, a Custodian, that means the Emperor's here, yay! And it's like, and then Abaddon just backhands the Custodian, kills it in one shot. It's like, oh, never mind.
Also, a company of
two Dreadnoughts as well, 2 Contemptors.
How?
There's actually a fight between the 2 Ultramarine Contemptors and like a pack of Hellbrutes.
That's quality. Tell me the Contemptors do a lot of damage, at least.
They do, but the Hellbrutes ultimately win because, like, they get point blanked by multi-melters.
Yeah.
Yeah. 4 Hellbrutes against 2 Contemptors, like, numbers are gonna, go in the Hellbrute's favour, let's be honest.
Yeah.
One of the good bits in there. Oh yeah, the weird thing at the beginning is like, Because you know how originally the reason why Trajan went to Cadia is because he could sense a disturbance coming out of the Eye of Terror. It's like, oh, and it was causing all the reverberations throughout his museum.
Yeah.
Yeah, now the reverberations were caused by the Cadian version of the Liberty Bell. Like, he's got the Cadian Liberty Bell in stasis, and it starts ringing, like, ding dong, ding dong. It's like, what the hell's happening? Oh, the bell's ringing. It shouldn't be, because it's in fucking stasis. It's like, what shenanigans?
Kind of cool, though. I like that. That's fun.
Yeah. I didn't say it was bad, it was just weird. The fact it has the Cadian Liberty Bell.
For some reason, it feels very Doctor Who. Just something in the archive is going off. You have no idea why, but it's something impossible, which means you've got to investigate.
Does that mean Trajan's Davros or Davos or whatever it's called?
I always think was that old comedian Bobby Davros? Stavros? I can't remember. I can never remember the main guy's name. Only that the special effects for him in whatever series it was that Tenant was in were weird and not the best.
Trying what other weird instances there were. Because again, I'm not going to go through the plot beat by beat just because, like, it's a bit hard to, because like so much of it is just, and then they shot each other, and then they shot each other, and then they shot each other. It's a bit hard to actually turn it into coherent recap. Trying to think what else was in there, because there was quite a lot of good stuff in it. You know, all my gripes with the weird shit aside, like in the inconsistencies, you know, ignoring that, it was a good book.
Yeah.
Trying to think what else was there. Oh yeah, the bit with the Black Templars. This is interesting, because like, you know, the Black Templar Lieutenant, like, he ends up dropping the chapter banner, and like, right, you drop the banner, you can't hold on to it anymore. Cut the chain, give it to someone else, and every person who ends up holding the banner ends up dying, except for the lieutenant who originally held it. And because the Black Templars basically swore a vow to defend this wall. They've swore a vow, they're not going to abandon it. The Cadians are saying, please come back to Cassacraft, we need the fucking reinforcements. It's like, no, we swore a vow, we're not going to break our vow. And the lieutenant's like, maybe we should actually go and do what the Cadian says. Like, no, we swore a vow to defend this wall. But it's not a wall anymore, it's just a pile of bricks. We swore a vow. No, we have to go. Why? Oh, I had a vision from the Emperor. Did you? Yes. Well, then off we go then, kind of thing. So the lieutenant, he gets decked out in the armor of the Emperor's champion, gets given a black sword. And it's like, I am the Emperor's champion. I'm gonna, you know, hack and slash you with your core berserkers. Hack and slash, hack and slash. And then the Canthos just kills him by bonking him on the head. Bonk.
Oh my god!
Literally just bonks him on the head. He dies, but the armor itself is not damaged or dented. No blood leaks out, but all of his internal organs become ruptured from the impact.
Oh my god!
And Ocanva's is just really pissed off. This is when he's ascended to demonhood, by the way. He's so pissed off because, like, oh, there's no blood. All right, I have to kill something else. So the Black Templars go to retrieve, you know, the armor, because the armor of the Emperor's champion, sacred relic, and all that. And it's like, oh, by the way, Marshal, yes, I lied. I didn't have a vision. You bastard.
Just outright making stuff up to get the outcome you want is excellent.
It's like, you know what? I like that. That's like one of the few things ever done in Black Templars fiction I actually like. Because most of the time I can't stand the Black Templars stuff. I'm so fucking boring and one-dimensional. But this I liked.
Yeah. It shows an indication of someone actually thinking for themselves and bending the rules, because
and actually looking at the bigger picture.
Yeah.
Because like, hey, we need to actually defend, you know, Cadia rather than just a fucking pile of bricks.
Actually using their brain. makes a difference, apparently.
It does. It really does. But yeah, those are pretty much all the main beats from the story. There is actually an interaction between Call and Trajan. And Trajan expresses that how he loves Call's youthful energy because he's just a spry 10,000 years old. Just like, haha, I see what you did there. But yeah, all in all, it's a good book. I'd say it's worth picking up. It's a very long book. Nitpicks aside, if you're able to look past the nitpicks, then you're going to enjoy it. But if you are someone who does focus a lot upon the lore side of things like me, they will annoy you.
Yeah.
But yeah, all in all, good book. So what about you? You been reading anything, Kirioth?
Oh, you know what? I really wish, I wish I'd had the time recently. Reading is my kind of full relaxation time, and the last couple of books I've read have just been rereading Terry Pratchett books, and it's purely because they're like my my like reading comfort food. Right? It's like I want to read something, but I don't have the time to get fully into something, and there's also that kind of aspect of wanting the escape without necessarily wanting to get to know new characters, which I don't know if that's I don't know if that's an everyone thing, but it's something that I definitely get sometimes where I'm like, I really want to just sit and read for a bit, but I don't know that I've got the space for like a new story. But I do have the kind of drive to read something, and I end up going back to reading like Nightwatch is usually the thing that I default to, and I end up reading all of the like Guard books from all of the Discworld series. I just went through the Guards books because I love Commander Vimes, because he's so sick of everyone, and I feel that on a deep level.
Fair enough.
I need to really actually buckle down and properly try and catch up, though. I really do. I feel like I'm so far behind on a lot of 40k stuff, and it doesn't feel like it's possible to just pick up a random book as much. But especially when there's like the Siege of Terror is kind of hanging there, just waiting to actually be properly gone into. But yeah, it's one of those. I also wonder if perhaps there's an element of like burning out a little bit, because for a little while I went back and was rereading all of the Horus Heresy, and I got most of the way through, and then just suddenly found that I picked up I can't remember which one it was, but it might have been Pandora's, what was it called? There was one of the Horus Heresy books where the Iron Hands end up on
world. It's the prequel to Pandorax.
Yeah.
What's it called? I've forgotten.
It's going to bug me now. I got to that one, and I got about 50 pages in, and something inside, I was just like, I don't want to read this. I don't know what it is about that specific book, but I just couldn't.
Damnation of Pythos, I think.
Damnation of Pythos, yeah. I could not get through that again.
In fairness, that book was crap.
it really, it properly turned me off reading any more for a while. It wasn't a good book, so I don't blame you for being put off by that book, because it wasn't a good book. I couldn't. The warning thing for me was that I couldn't remember any of it. I got to it and I was like, "What the hell is this? I don't remember this." Yeah, okay,
I say it's a book that, unless you want to read through Pandorax, you can skip Damnation of Pythos.
Yeah,
because the only thing of note with that book is the Veritas Ferrum, which is a ship that ends up appearing in Ruinstorm. But again, that was also in an audio drama, so just listen to the audio drama. There you go.
Yeah.
That's your introduction to the ship. I think the actual audio drama was called Veritas Ferrum as well. So, but yeah,
I'm just gotta skip that one then.
just skip that one. That's not.
I can't remember what the other one was. There is another one that I've skipped. Was it the one with the assassins?
Oh yeah.
I think I skipped that because I just once was enough. Once was enough, and I could remember what it was about. So I was like, I'm not too bothered about that one. Damnation of Pythos, I just fully wiped from my memory. I think I just scrubbed it clean. It's like, I'm not wasting any brain power on this thing anymore. And then so when I got to it, it was just so weird reading through it again and it feeling familiar and it feeling like something that I had read.
Yeah.
But I still couldn't remember any of it. I just knew that as I was going through, I was like, I'm already really bored of this now. And I feel like if I'd have read it before, I definitely wouldn't read it again because this isn't fun. And then I realised, oh no, I have. I had read it again before. It was just that. It was just that forgettable.
Yeah. I mean, with Nemesis, I personally enjoyed Nemesis. Like, I thought it was fine, but I do agree it's one of those books you can skip because it has very little bearing on the overall plot. Like, you can ignore it. I think it's just there mainly to establish the fact that Malkador's the Grandmaster of Assassins, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah, that was the thing. I don't think it was necessarily like. I don't think it was fair to say that it was bad. I just never. When I finished reading it,
was filler.
Yeah, I came away from it and just thought that didn't add anything.
It's like, well, that was a pointless diversion.
Yeah, like they could have stuck a reference to Malkador being like in the position that he's in any number of ways in other books as like little side notes or as things that are brought up in conversation, and it would have been like cool, and you would have got literally the same amount of information and development as a full book, which I think like as a standalone book isn't bad, but when you kind of go into, I feel like the Horus Heresy very much sets the way it was set up. It feels like every book has to be significant in some way. It has to have some development in some way on the main story. It's such a huge overarching series, and there's so much going on that when you read a book where it's like at the end of it, nothing has changed at all. It's like, oh, why was that? Okay, I guess that was. I mean, it wasn't bad, but what impact does that have on nothing? Oh, okay, right, fine, sure.
Yeah.
There's so many other ones that I could maybe have started, especially if you started a little bit later and stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, I think the Horus Heresy series has an issue with that because it's such a big series. There are some books that feel like they're just there to pad out the numbers rather than actually like advance the story.
Yeah. I wonder if that's maybe just an issue kind of inherent to having a series that big and that all-encompassing as the Horus Heresy, where it's like when the story is that big and when they expand it that much, anything that isn't like world changing is going to feel a bit like filler because so much of the rest of it is. And there's a lot of like, I guess like a lot of pressure for each book to be as good as the last and as impactful as the last. And realistically, it's not actually possible unless you constantly escalate in ways that aren't really sustainable. But that's kind of always been the way it's felt as I've been reading it, where things just ramp up, be it quickly or slowly, which just makes the occasional one where it feels like nothing's changed as being kind of disappointing, even if they technically aren't bad.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say, yeah.
God help them if they ever attempt to turn it into an actual TV series. To
be honest, if you're going to turn a 40k show into a TV series, Space Marines are the wrong way to do it, in my opinion. I know Space Marines are the iconic thing, but considering all the shit you have to do with them, make them look bigger, do that, make their fancy armor, it's going to be the expensive option. It'd be more practical to focus on the guard. And if you want to do something that doesn't contradict anything, in modern 40k, focus on a past event like, say, the Macarian Crusades. That's a big enough event where you can make your own stories up in it, I feel.
Yeah, definitely. It's also like the first thing's got to be in some way relatable, right? Like Space Marines are not like a weird concept, but when you look at things like I don't know, like RoboCop, you don't get introduced to RoboCop as RoboCop. You see him being human first, and then you get to see what becomes of him. You could do the same thing with Space Marines, and you would probably have to, because otherwise what you get are these like huge armored, like borderline inhuman warriors who don't have any concept of fear and kind of regard civilian casualties.
It makes for very poor character development, character involvement. Not necessarily poor character development, but poor character involvement from an audience point of view who may not be familiar with the source material.
Yeah. Like, fun in a kind of, oh wow, that guy just wiped out 100 enemies. That's cool. But not any good in terms of, like, sustainable, I want to see more of this person becoming their own person and being changed by the events around them, because while that does happen with Space Marines, and it's not really fair to say that they stay kind of one-dimensional killing machines forever, and we have like Captain Titus, or Lieutenant Titus, I suppose, technically now, it's still... even in those games, you still get interaction with humans to keep it grounded. You still get, like, the Lieutenant Mirrors, and you still get things that aren't Space Marines to kind of juxtapose how crazy they really are. And I don't know, with, like, when they eventually get around to doing a series, assuming that all of that stuff they said about Henry Cavill a while ago turns into anything significant.
I mean, I'm still waiting on any more news regarding the Eisenhorn TV series they announced years ago.
Yeah, I mean, did they say anything about that when they did the Cavill announcement? I can't remember.
No, I don't think they did. They just said that Cavill wants to do a Warhammer TV series. So I think maybe it's Cavill doing, Eisenhorn, like Cavill as Eisenhorn could work.
Yeah.
Even though he has to, like, be absolutely expressionless for, after, like, the first half of the first chapter, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Spoiler for the Eisenhorn books.
To be fair, you've had a while to read them.
Yeah, so they came out in, 2002?
We should have
You've had 20 years.
Should have done a spoiler alert for RoboCop as well. Spoiler alert, he doesn't start out like that.
I'd buy that for $1. Hey. Still can't believe RoboCop was in Mortal Kombat, though. That was funny.
Yeah, what?
Peter Weller reprising the voice, yet Arnold Schwarzenegger can be bothered to reprise the role of the Terminator. What the fuck? Like, even Sylvester Stallone reprised the role of Rambo for it. Because allegedly, Arnie didn't want to give his voice to a violent video game. It's like, well, you voiced Dutch in the Predator video game a few months later, so I'm calling bullshit on that.
Wait, did he really?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, he voiced Dutch in the DLC for the Predator Hunting Grounds game.
How he... Oh, come on. That to me smacks of the check wasn't big enough the first time, to be honest. Oh, I'm not doing that. I've got moral objections. Oh, but you'll do this other ultra-violent thing? Oh, yeah, sure, no problem. What are you talking about?
I'm not going to be in a violent video game. Lol. Worst Arnie impression ever, I know, but still, it's better than the one in the game. Hey. Because it sounds nothing like him.
That went very chewy at the end there.
Chewy Arnie. Oh, God. Just, mind you, do you remember that, when Arnold actually advertised that Japanese energy drink called Bwain?
No?
Yeah, it's like, he drinks this little energy shot thing, and his eyes start glowing. It's like, ha-ha, Bwain!
Okay, I need to look this up. I need to look this up.
I'll probably post a link on Twitter or something. There's quite a few, actually. Yeah, it's from an energy drink called Takeda Alminen, whatever it is. My Japanese pronunciation is probably terrible. I apologise. But yeah, there's quite a few. It's like with the Hulk Hogan one where he's singing, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and there's like a baby next to him. It's like, what are you advertising? Apparently it's like an air conditioner or something.
Okay. We were talking about fever dreams earlier. He's just come out of a bottle of it like a genie, and now he's in a pile of gold. What even is this? That's amazing. I had no idea he'd done that. That's awesome. Oh.
Energy drinks. That's what I'm going to say. Energy drinks. They do weird shit to you. How are you doing for time? We probably got time for one or two questions. So let's jump with this one. Spikes on Space Marine helmets, yay or nay?
No. I mean, Chaos Space Marines, depending on the array of spikes available, but given that I'm assuming this is a reference to the Mark III redesign, no, it's just not doing it for me.
No. I mean, I think it works, but only if you're using them as Death Guard.
Yeah, I think that is actually the main thing for me. I see the spike on the helmet, and I think of the old Plague Marines, not the old, like the middle ones. I think were they like second or third edition?
The plastic ones with a knife just sticking out.
Yeah,
second edition. Yeah,
I can still kind of now I said I think or I see. I don't actually see anything, but I have like my checklist when it comes to spikes on helmets starts with that box of Marines. Because you had the guy with the spike in his helmet, you had the guy who had like a rib cage coming out of his side. In fact, actually, I think I'm thinking of the ones after that. The between that box and the newer ones, but I can't remember what edition they were. For the what edition were they? Oh no! See, this is the problem when you don't know what edition it is. You don't know what to put it into Google Image search, do you? Which is a problem because, helpfully, there's a lot of pictures of the new ones, which is not what I'm looking for. Yeah, there was a set between those and the most recent ones that we've got.
Right. It probably would have been around 4th edition if I had to guess.
Let's see.
If I had to guess, at least, anyway. Oh, my voice is starting to go.
Nope, those new ones as well. Now I'm starting to wonder if I've imagined it. No, there we go. There we go. Oh, it's because they're under Death Guard, not under Plague Marines. I was thinking of the Death Guard box, which,
right.
I mean, massive difference there.
Mind you, in fairness, Pandorix did have a Plague Marine who was originally a member of the Angels of the Covenant, so...
Yeah. You know what? I've absolutely messed myself up. I wasn't even thinking of that. I was thinking of the Forge World ones.
Oh,
so I was wrong anyway. I was thinking of the Forge World upgrades because most of those had the spike on top of the helmet, and like I just see those. I just like see.
Right. If you're
I just
Death
think
Guard,
those.
If you're collecting Death Guard, then spikes on helmet's fine because it fits in with the aesthetic.
Yeah, definitely.
But if you're like collecting, like say, Blood Angels, it look a bit out of place.
That's the thing. Ultramarines out of place. Blood Angels out of place. Like it feels like the spike is the territory of the traitor. But even then, even more specifically, that specific spike is the territory of the Death Guard. It feels like, to me anyway. I keep tripping myself up because I'm trying to get out of the habit of saying that I see stuff in my head because I don't. It's just that's the accepted term that everyone uses, but I can't actually do that. And I've become very conscious of the fact that I keep saying it, even though it's not true. So you're like doing it and then suddenly hesitating and being like, no, that's not the right word. What word am I thinking? Listing? Because that's pretty much how it works. It is. I think spiky helmet, you got the cable coming out of the mouth, then you've got like a bloated chest with a bit of rib sticking out or some sort of droopy mouth or, something horrible. And it always starts with the spiky helmet and it always ends in gross Nurgle. And no matter how many times I look at that new Mark III box, I just can't think of them as anything but that.
It turns out it's not actually a spike, it's actually a cyst.
Oh, gross.
It's mid-burst.
Yeah.
And given the time, we shall call it there, ladies and gentlemen. So, thank you very much to everyone who joined in for this episode. We hope you enjoyed it. And thank you very much to Kirioth for joining us this episode. Or joining me this episode, rather.
Next time, we'll manage all three of us again. And it wasn't like a 3-year gap or whatever it was.
It's like 3 months this time. Well, a bit longer than that, but yeah, closer than that. Yeah,
actually it's like a not unreasonable length of time, which is nice.
it is, yes. So, until next time, this has been Remleiz from 40k Theories.
And Kirioth from Kirioth. That doesn't sound as good, does it?
And we'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.